Welcome to Integration of Literacy Strategies, Professional Development, presented by Carlie Crowe for LME 527, Summer 2017. This presentation covers activities from the book Literature-Based Reading Activities by Yop and Yop. As we look at rationales, the following questions should guide your development of literature-based reading activities. 1. Will the activity promote discussion about literature? Discussion promotes active engagement in meaning-making and involves co-construction of understanding through interaction with others. In discussing literature, students grapple with putting words to their ideas and clarifying and refining their thoughts. They are exposed to the perspective and reasoning of others and wrestle with opposing interpretations. These experiences enrich their comprehension of the text. Another question is, will the activity activate or develop background knowledge? The students are prompted to think and talk about experiences that they have or to articulate their opinion about topics about which they will soon be reading. Students with limited background knowledge on a topic will benefit from talking with their peers. The third question, will the activity prompt students to use comprehension strategies? When students preview the text, do they set purposes for reading? Do they generate predictions? Do they read to confirm? Do they activate relevant knowledge and monitor comprehension? Do they seek clarification through interaction with others? Do these activities provide numerous opportunities for students to integrate the strategies they work through with peers while building understanding and responding to the literature? Does the activity promote higher order thinking? Students need to be able to do much more than just recall what they read. This is reflected in the rigorous Common Core state standards. These goals will not be achieved unless students are able to think deeply and critically about what they read. Are the activities appropriate for a broad range of readers? When choosing an activity, students with different levels of academic preparedness should be able to participate in and be challenged by the activity. Will English learners benefit from the activities? English learners should not be excluded from opportunities to engage with literature. Literature provides exposure to rich language and powerful ideas that are worth thinking and talking about. And shared literature experiences can contribute to building a classroom community where all members feel valued and comfortable participating in the conversation. Are the activities appropriate for a differentiated classroom? Do the activities represent a wide variety of literature to explore before, during, and after the readings? Do they prompt the development of diverse products that can expand and deepen students' thinking and that represent student cognitive, affective, and critical responses to text? These are questions that were used in the book to pick out the activities we'll talk about in a few minutes. But first, take a moment to look at this literature-based learning activities to reading. It's a little elementary, but I feel it can fit to any format across the curriculum and across the grade levels.
Reading comprehension strategies are plans or steps that good readers use to understand what they are reading. These strategies come more naturally for some readers than others, but every student can benefit from consciously practicing these strategies when reading during tutoring. There are many strategies readers use when understanding text. In this video, we will cover 4 important ones: making connections, retelling, asking questions, and making predictions. To make these important strategies more concrete, let's look at how we could use them when reading The 3 Little Pigs with a student. Making connections. When good readers make connections, they hook new information from a text to information they already know. When this happens, learning and understanding take place. When you are working with an emerging reader, you can ask them specific questions throughout the book to help them make these connections. Eventually, they will learn to do this automatically. Readers can make connections in 3 different ways. Text to self. How would you feel if the wolf was trying to get in your house? Has something like this ever happened in your life? Are you like any of the characters in The 3 Little Pigs? Text to text. Have you ever read another book with pictures like these? Have you ever read another book about pigs? Does the wolf remind you of any other characters from a different story? Text to world. Have you ever heard of anything like this happening in real life? Have you ever seen someone do this? Have you ever been to a house made of straw, wood, or bricks? At first, it may seem unnatural to interrupt a reader to ask these questions. However, you will quickly see how periodically prompting readers with questions will increase reading comprehension. Use your best judgment to know how often to ask questions while a student is reading. Retelling. Retelling occurs when a reader can describe the important parts of a story in his own words. Different students may retell the same story in different ways, and this is fine as long as the reader can identify the main idea and key events in a story. You can help a young reader retell a story by asking questions like, what was the most important thing that happened in the story? Did this story teach us a lesson? What happened next? And after that? Having the student draw a picture of the main events of a story in the correct order is another way to promote this strategy. Listening to a reader retell a story will allow you to quickly assess her understanding of the text. Asking questions. Good readers ask lots of questions while they are reading. Sometimes the questions come up because they don't understand something mentioned in a story. Sometimes a question occurs because a trigger in the book piques a reader's curiosity. When reading with a student, it is a good idea to encourage the student to write down any questions that occur in a journal or reader's notebook. Some examples of questions may be things like, I wonder why the wolf wanted to get into the pigs' houses. Why did some of the pigs buy straw and wood instead of bricks? What does the word huffed mean? Asking questions while reading promotes reading comprehension because it gives a purpose for reading the book and it can make reading much more interesting. Making predictions. Making predictions about what will happen next in a story can help keep readers interested in the text. It can be fun to check their predictions as the text unfolds. You can help a reader make predictions by asking questions like, is this story fiction or nonfiction, real or pretend for very young students? What do you think will happen next? Do you think the wolf will be a good guy or a bad guy in the end? It can be fun for you and your student to jot down your predictions in a journal. At the end, you can check to see if your predictions were correct. Predicting what will happen next evaluates a student's ability to understand clues from the text to draw conclusions. When most of a student's predictions are correct, or at least reasonable, you know that the reader understands the text. Reading comprehension can be very tricky for struggling readers. However, being deliberate about using these reading strategies can increase both reading comprehension and overall enjoyment of reading. The more a student practices, the more she will be able to use these strategies automatically, almost without thinking about them. This will, in turn, lead to a better understanding of all school subjects and areas of study. Happy reading!
That showed us a little bit about reading strategies. Let's talk a little bit more about activities to use those strategies. The first section we're going to look at are pre-reading activities. What purposes do pre-reading activities serve? They are there to activate and build background knowledge, to develop language, to set purposes for reading, to promote personal responses, to arouse a curiosity and motivate students to read. Here are a few of the activities. Anticipation guides, opinionaires questionnaires, book boxes, book bits, cover clues, and character quotes. Let's take a look at anticipation guides. An anticipation guide is a list of statements with which the students are asked to agree or disagree. The statements are related to themes, issues, or concepts in the reading selection, and an effort is made to develop statements that result in differences of opinion and thus leading to discussion. This activity primes students for making personal connections with the literature and sparks their interest as they consider their own opinion and those of other classmates. Another activity to look at are cover clues. Images can provide considerable information about a text. Cover clues invite students to examine carefully the first image they generally encounter when reading a book cover. Each small group of students is provided a copy of the text and is asked to examine the cover closely. Here are some more pre-reading activities. KWL charts, semantic maps, preview, predict, confirm, picture packets, picture carousels, quick writes, and quick draws. Next, I want to take a look at during reading activities. The purpose for during reading activities are to deepen comprehension, promote personal responses, to promote use of comprehension strategies, to enhance awareness and use of text structure, to focus attention on language, to facilitate thinking about characters, events, themes, and big ideas, and to foster collaborative building of interpretations. Let's take a look at some of these activities. Some examples are literature circles, strategy cards, literature maps, contrast charts, and investigator's notebook. One important goal of reading instruction is that students learn to draw inferences and identify the text that supports these inferences. An investigator's notebook assists students in distinguishing between explicitly stated information and inferences, and prompts them to identify the text information that led to their inferences. Other activities are graphic organizers, character perspective charts, character webs, character carousels, and circle of viewpoints. Character webs are useful for helping students think about and analyzing characters. Students identify character traits and cite examples for the text as evidence. Character webs draw readers back to the text as they look for supporting examples, and so their interactions with the text are enriched. Character webs can be created using software and multimedia presentations. Other activities are feeling charts, journals, character blogs, 10 important words, and pack the suitcase. Character blogs, produced with an active writer in mind, are designed to communicate an identity, a personality, and a point of view. They are an ideal environment for students to assume the voice of the character in the book that they are reading, and to recount the experiences, thoughts, and hopes of the character as they see them. Classmates and others are encouraged to respond to the blog entries with questions and comments of their own. Lastly, I'd like to cover post-reading activities. The purpose for post-reading activities are to encourage personal responses, to stimulate thinking about text ideas, to identify what is meaningful, to promote reflection, to facilitate organization, analysis, and synthesis of the text ideas, to share and build interrelationships, and to prompt connections. Post-reading activities. Some of those are polar opposites, literary report cards, powerful passages, sketch to stretch, and 3D responses. In sketch to stretch, students first listen to or read a text or a portion of a text. The teacher then prompts them to sketch what the text meant to them. They are encouraged to share through lines, colors, shapes, and pictures what they understand or feel about the ideas in the text. They show their sketches to small groups of peers who offer interpretations. After listening to the interpretations of their peers, each artist explains his or her sketch. The sharing and explaining of the sketches provides students with an opportunity to revisit the text through literary discussion and to appreciate diverse perspectives of text. Other post-reading activities are dramatic responses, magazine covers, multimedia responses, book trailers, and pod reviews.